Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Tuesday evening. We're going to park the managerial chat for today's live stream and it is the game review to Everton's 2-1 defeat to Norwich City at Carrow Road on Saturday. A defeat which ultimately ended up resulting in Rafa Benitez losing his job, and rightly so. Quite lucky to have stayed in the job for as long as he did, to be fair. But we all knew going into this one that if we were to lose this game, it would be very, very difficult to make a case for Rafa Benitez keeping his job, especially considering we're coming up against a fellow relegation rival and a game that was an absolute must-win for Everton. I know the last 24, 48 hours or so have been a little bit manic. We've had all of the talk about new managers, Roberto Martinez we spoke about yesterday. We were supposed to do this review yesterday, but we got caught up in the Roberto Martinez news, going from Everton offering him a job to the Belgium FA seemingly blocking that move. I'm still not 100% convinced the Roberto Martinez situation is over with, if I'm being honest with you, because I simply don't trust Bill Kenwright to not throw absolutely everything at Roberto Martinez. The latest on the managerial situation, I suppose, to touch on it before we get into the game review, is that I believe, according to a couple of quite reliable sources, Everton are looking to interview Wayne Rooney and Frank Lampard. I believe Everton would need permission from Derby to interview Wayne Rooney, and Sam Wallace of The Telegraph is reporting that Duncan Ferguson took charge of training today and is likely to be in charge for the game against Aston Villa on Saturday if no manager is found before then. It would be lovely for the club to come out and communicate that. It would be lovely for the club to come out and talk to us and say, listen, you know, we're not going to rush this decision. We're going to try and find the best man for the job, and whilst we do that, Dunk's going to take over for the foreseeable future, and Dunk might be one of those names that we look at bringing in on a temporary basis until the end of the season. But they haven't. They've just left us in the dark. They've decided to not say anything, and, you know, we woke up this morning thinking, well, who's going to train the players? Who's going to, you know, who's going to walk through what's supposed to be done, and who's going to prepare for what is another vitally important game of football on Saturday? And as was this game, and as I said, you know, we'll park the manager talk for a second and discuss, you know, a game of football that needs to be discussed, really, because at the end of the day, I know some people will look back at this game, you know, maybe not as worried or not as upset, because obviously it resulted in Rafa Benitez inevitably losing his job. However, for me, you know, it's another game that passes us by that we really should have been winning. Another game that passes us by where, for the most part, we were absolutely atrocious. Okay, in the second half, we had a lot of the possession. Okay, in the second half, you know, we had more of the ball than what Norwich did. But the reality of the situation is barring a wonder goal from Richarlison, and that's exactly what it is. It's an absolute wonder goal. We didn't really threaten Norwich's goal. I think I looked at the stats yesterday. We had something like 12 shots, and, you know, okay, I can think of Solomon Rondon having a shot, which was never, you know, going in because it was hit with about as much pace as my nan trying to get to the Tesco. I can think of Ben Godfrey having a shot, which I don't even think was on target, and I can think of Dominic Calvert-Lewin stretching a leg to try and get on the end of a ball into the box, which he ended up not getting on the end of. Other than that, and what was a wonder goal from Richarlison, which come out of absolutely nowhere, I can't remember us having a shot. You know, certainly not a clear opportunity. So it's not like we're sitting here saying, well, yeah, okay, we lost, but in that second half, for the last 20 minutes, you know, half an hour, I think Richarlison scored with half an hour to go, 25 minutes to go. You know, for that period of time, we were throwing everything at Norwich. We were creating chances. We were, you know, we hit the post, we hit the bar, we had shots cleared off the line. We were unlucky to not score. We weren't unlucky to not score. We didn't do anywhere near enough, and that is really worrying, because that's multiple times this has happened now this season, where Everton have been 2-1 down, or we've needed to get a goal, and we've had a period of momentum. We saw it against Brighton. I spoke about it in the Brighton review. You know, we went 2-1. We was 2-0 down. We went to 2-1. And we had a period then of 10 or 15 minutes at 2-1 where you're thinking, right, okay, go and capitalise on this now. We're at home, we're at Goodison. These will be thinking, you know, obviously, right, you know, we've gone from being 2-0 up to 2-1, you know, up. These are going to have momentum, these are going to have confidence. And instead, you know, I like to say that in football, if you're 2-0 down, and you're going into the second half and you score on the 58th minute or the 60th minute, whatever, you have a 10 or 15 minute period then where you have to pile absolutely everything on the opposition side. You have to pile the pressure on, you have to get the shots going, you have to play the football you're supposed to play. You're meant to, take that confidence from getting that goal and use that momentum to put the opposition team on the back foot. Everton never seemed to do it. We waltz around for 10 or 15 minutes, and then after that 10 or 15 minute spell, the opposition team started to go, actually, do you know what? We're all right in this. We're safe in this in this game. These aren't going to get another goal. These don't want it enough. It happened against Brighton, and Brighton went on and scored a third, and then obviously we went and scored a second then, and then we had that again. We had a period of 15 minutes where we could have got an equaliser. We didn't really look interested, and it happened again against Norwich. We had a period of time in the second half where for 15, 20, 25 minutes we had an opportunity to take that momentum. Again, this is a Norwich side who started the day being Saturday, bottom of the Premier League table. They're no longer bottom of the Premier League table because that win against Everton took them took them higher, but they started the day bottom of the Premier League table. A Norwich side that hadn't scored a goal since the 20th of November in the Premier League. They were 2-0 up within the first 15 minutes of the game. Now, if Everton would have got to that 10-minute period and thought, right, you know what, we're going to pile everything onto Norwich. If Rafa Benitez has decided to make 3 substitutions instead of making 2, why? You've got Andros Townsend, El Ghazi on the bench, 2 players. Certainly Andros Townsend, the player who we know can come on and change a game. He's done it on a plethora of occasions, done it in the Carabao Cup against Huddersfield early on in the season, literally done it last week against Hull, come on and won us the game with a world-class goal. Andros Townsend is capable of that. Why leave him on the bench? We've just brought, El Ghazi in to come in and change games. What a chance that would have been for him. But no, he's left on the bench. And obviously we're talking about this game on Tuesday night. So, in hindsight, questioning the manager's decisions is now sort of a void and null point, isn't it, really? Because he's no longer the manager of Everton Football Club. And Everton's board look to appoint his successor. And again, we've spoke over the last couple of days about Everton's board and their inability to make a half-decent decision, and some of the names that are being thrown around would really, really, really worry me if they were employed by the football club to be the first team manager. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, this is the biggest decision Farhad Moshiri will ever make whilst being at Everton Football Club. If he gets this wrong, this could go really, really poorly, and Everton could be playing Championship football next season. We can't keep surviving the Premier League on the basis that there's worse teams than us. Everton have been dreadful for years now. We've been ran like a fucking circus for the last 4, 5, 6 years. Football we play has been dreadful for however long, and the decisions that the people at the top of the club are making have been awful for a long, long time. We can't keep, riding our luck and thinking, we won't get relegated this season because this team are worse than us, or there's these 3 teams that are worse than us. One of these seasons, it's going to come back to bite us on the arse, and we're not going to have a choice but to be relegated because we're the worst ranked club in the league, or we're the worst team currently, and we are. We're the worst. We are Everton, the worst team in the Premier League at the moment. We proved that by going to a team that were bottom of the table on the day and who hadn't won a game for however many months, hadn't scored a goal since the end of November, and they were 2-0 up in 15 minutes, comfortable. So, again, as I said, the manager obviously got it wrong again, certainly in terms of, his substitutions or his lack of substitution in the second half. But he got the team news wrong, he got the style wrong, and again, you look at this Everton team, and we were playing Norwich, and no disrespect to Norwich, Norwich played really, really well. They fought, they had all of the hallmarks of a Dean Smith side, a side that turns up, fights, battles, shows that determination, shows that care, shows that passion, that energy, can play football, and they were well worth the result. They absolutely deserved that result, and they put in a decent performance, Norwich, at the weekend. But the reality is, they were bottom of the table, and struggling to pick up, struggling to win a corner, never mind the game of football before Saturday, and Everton should have had more than enough quality to turn up with a plan, with a structure, and ultimately win that game, win what was a must-win game for us, because it was. And, I know people will be in the comments now going, Cam, this one doesn't matter. The manager's gone now, we're looking for a replacement. But it does matter. It really, really does matter, because it's another game of football that passes us by that at the start of the season you'd be looking at saying that's a guaranteed 3 points. And how many of these games where you're looking at, before going into them, you're looking at them thinking that's a guaranteed 3 points. How many of these can we let pass us by? How many of these guaranteed 3 points can we lose and give up? We're 16th in the Premier League, we're 6 points above the relegation zone. If we keep losing games like this, then it doesn't matter who's in charge, doesn't matter whether the manager's being sacked, doesn't matter whether we're looking to bring in Roberto Martinez or Duncan Ferguson. If we don't start winning games, then we will drop, and we will drop into the relegation zone. And as I've said previously, and I will say again, if this Everton side and these players have to be in a relegation battle and are responsible for getting out of a relegation battle, they won't get out of it. Because there's not enough fight, there's not enough grit, there's not enough determination, there's not enough passion. They just don't want it enough to get out of that situation. And that's why I cannot stress how important it is to bring in somebody like a Duncan Ferguson as manager, who we know will rally behind the players, and the players will work for and will fight for and will have no choice but to give 150% when they go on that pitch. Otherwise, they won't be anywhere near the pitch. The fans will get behind. Duncan Ferguson could be the glue to glue back together. If you think of Everton like a gingerbread house, basically what's happened since Farhad Moshiri has come into the football club, he's tried to put so he's got a normal gingerbread house you'd get from any retail shop, and he's tried to put dead heavy sweets on it. So he's started to put 4 full packs of Smarties on it. He's started to spend all this money on posh sweets and put them on top of this gingerbread house. But the house over the years has crumbled because it can't take the weight. It can't take the the level of the sweets that are being put on it per se, and it's crumbled. And we've now got what is effectively just a shit show of a gingerbread house that is broken, and a load of sweets that we don't really want and we didn't really need and we spent too much money on. Duncan could be the glue to fix this back together, at least in the temporary, at least in the short term. For me, I think in this analogy, Roberto Martinez would come in and bin the house, effectively. But, as I said, there was a game of football that we played on Saturday, and we absolutely needed to win it, and we failed to win it. And again, that was down to the managerial, decisions that the manager made, but also down to the players. We all sat here a couple of weeks ago, and I said specifically, if Rafa Benitez is to lose his job, which I think he should, and I thought he should, weeks ago, it won't mean that every problem at Everton Football Club is fixed. And Rafa Benitez has come out and said a couple of things during his press conferences, especially when he was at Everton, about the problems running deep at this football club and him being brought in to fix 5 years worth of problems. And he's absolutely right. A lot of what Rafa Benitez is saying is right. The problems do run deeper than him. He was a problem because ultimately results and performances are what matter, and we are in a dreadful position and sitting 16th in the Premier League and had only won 1 Premier League game in 4 months or whatever it's been. So results ultimately are what has seen him lose his job, and rightly so. But what he's saying about the background stuff is spot on. Rafa Benitez isn't the only problem at Everton Football Club, and Rafa Benitez is gone now, and yet literally an hour after Rafa Benitez left the club, we were still sat here frustrated, angry, upset, worried, because the people who are making the decisions at the top, Bill Kenwright shouldn't be anywhere near making decisions for Everton Football Club. This is a fella who sold his shares 6 years ago, shouldn't have any say in what goes on. I don't give a fuck if he's the chairman or how big of an Evertonian he is or how long he's been here. Making decisions like wanting Roberto Martinez back for the sole reason as to that he's your friend and not actually he's the right man for the job should sell us enough as to why this man shouldn't be making decisions at the top of the football club. You've got Farhad Moshiri, who thinks that it's a FIFA career mode and that, we're just this little fun project that he messes about with, and that, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, who cares? And you've got a group of players there that have to take responsibility, and they do. I am past allowing these players to see off manager after manager after manager. And don't get me wrong, the managers that have been sacked over the last 4 or 5 years have been sacked because they haven't been good enough, or they haven't made the right decisions, or tactically they haven't been good enough, or whatever. whatever, and that's fair enough, and I get that, and I understand that, but the reality of the situation is that these players have down tools under numerous managers. These players under numerous managers have decided, no, do you know what? I don't really like you. I don't want to play for you. I'm just gonna not really try in games. I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna almost act like, I don't really know what's going on. They're not giving it 110% on the pitch. They're not working the hardest. A lot of them aren't very good at football. Let's be honest. Let's have that completely right. The likes of Michael Keane, Fabian Delph, Mason Holgate just shouldn't be anywhere near Everton. They're nowhere near good enough. And again, Saturday was another example of bad managerial decisions, but also a team of players that I'm really, really worried about. I'm really, really, really worried about. We were playing bottom of the table Norwich. Hadn't scored a goal since November, and they were 2-0 up in 15 minutes. And we'd fell to bits again. Let's talk about the game then, because that's what we're here to talk about. I know we'll probably get into the managerial stuff as the stream goes on, because that would be the natural progression of the conversation. We will also be getting in the live comments, so don't forget to leave your comments down below if you haven't already. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your comments down below. If you're enjoying this stream, please hit that like button. We might even be back a little bit later on with another live stream, another managerial update, late night managerial update. People have been liking them recently. The views and the numbers and the interaction has been amazing. We literally done a stream at like 12:30 the other night, and there was loads of people getting involved in it. So if you'd be interested in seeing another late night extravaganza, then let me know. Probably won't be too late because my sleeping pattern's a little bit messed up at the moment, but it will be later on tonight. But yeah, let's talk about the game. So Rafa Benitez, in what was his final game in charge of Everton Football Club. Obviously, he wasn't to know that at the time. Maybe he did know that at the time. Maybe he was told that if he doesn't get a result out of this one, then he would be gone. But let's go on the assumption that he didn't know this at the time. He went with a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1. I'm still not quite sure where Rondon was playing, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I've seen some suggesting he was playing in the number 10. I've seen some suggesting he was playing as a striker. I honestly don't know where Rondon was playing, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. In fact, he may as well have been sat next to me, making a brew, watching the game on the telly, because he didn't really offer much, did he? But we were playing, let's say for argument's sake, a 4-4-2, which again is baffling, considering we'd openly spoke during the week, and a player, Abdoulaye Doucouré, had openly come out and spoke during the week about how playing a 3 in midfield and having a midfield 3 is much more beneficial and helps the side much more than having a midfield 2. Now, granted, obviously we found out at 2 o'clock that Alan wasn't available. Now, we haven't really heard much more about Alan, but the manager did say, or the ex-manager, should I say, Rafa Benitez did say in his press conference before the game that we may potentially have one COVID case, and then obviously Alan ended up not even being involved in the squad. So there may be an assumption that that COVID case is Alan, but we don't know that for certain yet. What we do know is that Alan obviously wasn't available for the game. So some would say, well, Cam, you've got Alan out and you've got Tom Davis out and Kabaman isn't quite ready. How was he meant to play a 3 in midfield? And maybe, I still think there's ways around it. I still think you could have played Townsend in the 10 with Doucouré and Gomez behind them. I still think you could have played, even, as I said, a Kabaman in there. I actually don't think Kabaman would be too bad with Doucouré and Gomez with him. I think Kabaman in a 2 would be a shocking decision, as it was against Wolves. But I actually think in a 3 it may work. But anyway, he didn't. He played with a 4-4-2. He went obviously with Jordan Pickford in goal, Vitaly Mykolenko making his Premier League debut at left back, the centre back partnership of dreams in Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey, with Seamus Coleman at right back. Don't know why. We've literally just signed a right back for 16 million, and we've got John Joe Kenny on the bench, who, whether we like him or not, at this point is in much better form than Seamus Coleman. Obviously, we went with Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray on the wings, Abdoulaye Doucouré and Andre Gomez in the midfield, and Solomon Rondon and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. From the very, very first whistle, you were sort of thinking, don't go behind. That was the one thing that I kept sort of saying to myself, and I kept sort of thinking, in the opening sort of 10 minutes of the game, I was thinking, right, don't do what we done last week against Hull. And because when you go behind, you're giving yourself an uphill battle, and especially in the situation Everton are in at the moment. 16th in the Premier League table. Fans were already massively against Rafa Benitez, and a lot of fans didn't believe Rafa Benitez should have been in charge of that game. So going behind 1-0, forget 2-0, going behind 1-0 was always going to be a near impossible task for the manager, because we know this squad of players isn't particularly great at picking their heads up and sort of moving on with games and thinking, right, forget about that, it's 0-0, go again. We know this squad of players isn't very good at that. And we know, obviously, as soon as you go 1-0 down against a side like Norwich, they get a big buzz because they don't score a lot of goals and they don't win a lot of games. And, all of a sudden the Evertonians are thinking, right, here we go again, another game that we're going to lose. So making stupid mistakes, you would think that the thing that these players would focus on the most in training would be to avoid conceding goals. And this is what my big problem with Roberto Martinez coming into Everton Football Club is the last time he was here, conceding goals was something that Roberto Martinez never managed to fix, and in fact he still hasn't managed to fix it to this day. Even being Belgian manager, they still leak silly goals left, right and centre, and that's the biggest problem with Everton at the moment, is we concede too many stupid goals. When we do concede goals, more often than not, we don't get back into games. I know there's this thing this season about how, we've picked up the most points from losing positions this season, this, that, and the other, but you can say that, the start of the season, Burnley, Southampton, I get it, we were good in the second half, we put in some good second half performances, I understand that, but recently that's not been the case, has it? Brighton, we were losing and we didn't get back into the game. Brentford, we were losing, didn't get back into the game. Palace, we were losing, didn't get back into the game. Saturday against Norwich, losing, didn't get back into the game. Yes, okay, Hull, we got back into the game against a team 19th in the Championship at that time and in absolutely dreadful form. So I'm not really taking much from getting back into a game against Hull, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But again, as I said, game starts, Everton aren't really tactically showing anything. We were sort of controlling the ball. I'd say we maybe had the most of the possession. I wouldn't necessarily say it was comfortable per se for Everton, but I'd say it was quite a dull opening 10 minutes. Wasn't much happening. Neither team were particularly threatening. But as we once again found out, Everton's tactic for the game, and this has been a tactic Rafa Benitez has tried to appoint on a number of occasions, and that was give it to Demarai Gray and cross your fingers and hope that he could do something, or give it to Anthony Gordon and cross your fingers that he can do something, and that for me again showed that this manager was completely just out of his depth at this football club. And tactically, we could make every decision in the background in terms of, saying that there's bigger problems at the club and, trying to move on players on big wages and bring in younger players. That's all fine. And one big credit I would give to Rafa Benitez is signings during his time at Everton were, particularly good. I mean, with the exception of maybe Solomon Rondon, that people would obviously say has been a failure so far. Demarai Gray, great signing. Andros Townsend has worked. I know a lot of people are massive fans of him, but he's a good squad player. We'll wait and see on El Ghazi, of course, but by other accounts, that's not even a Rafa Benitez signing. Asmir Begovic is a solid number 2 goalkeeper to Jordan Pickford. So, a lot of the players he's brought in have worked, and I think Rafa Benitez has had an over-reliance on that. He brought, again, it has to be said, although I don't like him, and I think he deserves to be sacked. I think Rafa Benitez, in all fairness to him, has done quite a fair bit for Anthony Gordon's development. Now, okay, you could say, well, that's Anthony Gordon doing a fair bit for Anthony Gordon's development because he's working hard, he's putting the work in, and you're absolutely spot on. But Benitez was giving him the opportunities. Benitez wasn't looking at him as a young player who doesn't deserve a chance. He gave him a chance, and Anthony Gordon has flourished with that. But that become his worst enemy, Rafa Benitez, because he got over-reliant then on, right, okay, well, I know Demarai Gray's good, and I know Anthony Gordon's good, so just give it to them and sort of hope that will work. And when teams sniff that out, and when teams start to go, and any team can do this, as Norwich did, and Norwich proved, even the teams that aren't particularly great will just sniff it out and go, right, we'll just mark Demarai Gray. Just mark Anthony Gordon, and that's what Norwich did within the opening 15-20 minutes. They had Brandon Williams on Anthony Gordon, who was kicking him up and down the park, left, right and centre, and they had Max Aarons the other side on Demarai Gray, who was doing very similar to the other side, and they nullified what was our attacking threat. And in doing that, we were completely dead in the water. Calvert-Lewin and Rondon were sort of just walking around as if they, were just there to hang out. The midfield were completely being bypassed. On the ball again, Andre Gomez, decent footballer. Off the ball, could be the worst footballer I've ever witnessed in my life. Decore wasn't really doing an awful lot. And defensively, I don't know how many times I have to sit here and talk about how bad this defence is. Michael Keane, I know some people will say, oh, he's not very confident at the moment and don't kick him while he's down and he's a confidence player and this, that and the other. Reality is, he shouldn't be playing for Everton. He's been here, 5 years now, and if we're being perfectly honest, with the exception of maybe a spell of a couple of months, in that 5 years, he's played well for a couple of months. And the rest of his time has been constant mistake, constant bad decision after bad decision. He's just not a very good defender. Not a very good defender. And we saw that as soon as Yerry Mina come on Saturday, we looked more comfortable instantly. We looked more controlled, we looked more calm, we looked more collected. We'd stop giving away stupid chances, we'd stop giving Norwich that confidence that he could get, they could get another goal. Same with Richarlison coming on at the other end of the pitch. We looked more of a threat. We looked much better. We looked like we actually were going to, for a period of time, about 35 seconds, we actually looked like we might get back into the game. But again, the game starts, as I said, first 10 or 15 minutes, bit dull, not much happening. And then Norwich do the simplest of things, and that is get the ball to our left-hand side, put a ball into the box, a simple cross. Michael Keane sticks a big size, 312 foot out, and directs it towards the goal. Why Michael Keane is sticking a foot out when he's facing goal and the ball's coming in at pace is beyond me anyway. That for me is just a simple, right, if I stick a foot out here, there's every chance it could wrong foot the goalkeeper, so I won't do it, but he done it anyway. Some people would say Jordan Pickford should do a little bit better. Interestingly enough, maybe he should come out and call for it. Maybe he should come out and claim it. Vitaly Mykolenko should be doing an awful lot better. Listen, again, I'm not going to sit here and go in on Vitaly Mykolenko. He's a young kid. He's only just come into the football club. He's only just come into the league, coming over from Ukraine. Massively different league, massively different expectation. And forwards in the Premier League are, much better than the forwards over in Ukraine and won't allow you to make silly mistakes because they will be punished. And let's have it right. He wasn't very good. He wasn't very good the other day. And I'm not saying he isn't very good, and I'm not saying he won't be, and I'm not saying, this, that, and the other, he's crap, we've replaced Dean with something. I've got every confidence that Vitaly Mykolenko will be absolutely sound for Everton in the next few weeks or so, few months or so, but we all knew he was going to need a period of settling in. We all knew he was going to need some time to settle in, to develop in this league and to understand what you can and can't do in the Premier League. We knew we had to be patient with him. And it was games like, Saturday against Norwich where it was proven that we need that patience with him. Again, he should stop the cross coming into the box. It's as simple as that. We must have, Mykolenko aside, because he's only new and he's only just come in. But even if we're looking at the likes of Luca Dean previously and Seamus Coleman, we must historically have the worst fullbacks at stopping balls coming into the box. We invite balls into the box all the time. It's ridiculous. Crispy Southern Comfort has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, my mate. Really do appreciate it. It means a massive amount to me. We will get in the live comments very, very shortly, so don't forget to keep getting your comments in. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. That would mean a great deal to me as well. But yeah, we go 1-0 down. Again, big Michael Keane boot. And, it was weird because I shouldn't have felt like this because it's Everton and I know what Everton are like. But I almost had this weird, sort of unlucky, even though it wasn't really unlucky, it was awful defending. But I had this sort of, it's an own goal, unlucky, put it behind you, move on. Go and get back in the game. Don't let them score a second. Just go and get straight back in the game and forget about it. Which was very plausible considering we were playing the worst side in the league at the time and the team sitting bottom. But what do Everton do in typical Everton fashion? Why would we get back into a game? Why would we, pick our heads up and go again? Why would we think, do you know what, that was a simple mistake, that we'll move on? Why would we do any of that when we can just concede a second and go 2-0 down within 15 minutes and have the game beyond us? Why would we Why would we why would we want to get back into a game? Why would we want to, pick our heads up and go again when we can just make it even worse for ourselves? And that's exactly what we did. Literally a couple of minutes later, one through ball. It starts with Seamus Coleman playing a massively undercooked pass to Anthony Gordon, who tries to turn his man. Maybe the wrong decision in hindsight from Anthony Gordon, but if the pass actually had enough pace on it, he'd have turned him comfortably and we'd have been on our way. But he doesn't. And an experienced defender like Michael Keane making stupid mistakes, and an experienced defender like Seamus Coleman who can't seem to pass a ball is extremely, extremely worrying, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying by, just because Rafa Benitez is left doesn't mean everything's solved. You will still likely have Michael Keane playing at the weekend. You will still likely have Seamus Coleman playing at the weekend. We can sit here all we like and talk tactics about Rafa Benitez, and that's right. The team selection was baffling, the formation was baffling, the substitutions, the fact he didn't make the third substitution was baffling. But the reality is, Rafa Benitez can't be at fault for Michael Keane being a poor defender. You could say he's at fault for playing him, but who else have we got? Mina maybe, yeah, okay, you understand that. But Michael Keane making stupid mistakes, that's down to Michael Keane. Seamus Coleman being a 30-odd-year-old experienced player who's played in the Premier League for the last decade, not being able to pass a ball is Seamus Coleman's mistake. I'm sick of these players getting away with it year in, year out, manager in, manager out. Players get away without criticism. Most of these players aren't good enough and shouldn't be playing for Everton. But yeah, as I say, Norwich get on the attack. One simple ball cuts the defence into bits. Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey are nowhere to be seen, and I think it's Aida comes in and gets one-on-one with Jordan Pickford. And again, maybe Jordan should do better. I actually think a couple of Everton players clattered into them. I think Mikalenko's coming in on the end, and Michael Keane has literally just booked the next train to get to the box to try and block the shot. And a couple of the Everton players, as I said, actually crash into Jordan in while he's trying to make the save, and I think that actually maybe gets in his way a little bit and causes a problem for him. But the reality is, Norwich go 2-0 up, and at that point for me, I was at that point where I thought, yeah, this is done now. And how sad's that? We were playing the team bottom of the league who concede goals like it's fun. Everton could have if Everton were City or West Ham or Chelsea or Liverpool, 2-0 down in 15 minutes, their fans are the problem. Maybe not West Ham, but certainly like the City and Liverpool, their fans would have been sitting back going, right, yeah, we're 2-0 down, awful, but we can easily score 5 or 6 here comfortably. And I know you say, yeah, but that's City and Liverpool, they're a different class. They are, but what I'm doing is highlighting, that this Norwich defence is susceptible to conceding goals, and that game at that point, 20 minutes in, should have been far from over. But we know as Evertonians the mentality of this squad, the lack of any tactical ability of the manager, or the ex-manager should I say now, and the lack of any real desire, fight, passion or commitment from this squad. We knew that at 2-0 down, that was it. That we weren't getting back in, or certainly I did anyway. Some fans will disagree and say, no, I felt we could get back in the game. I didn't. Soon as it went 2-0, I think I tweeted, game over. I knew we wouldn't get back into it, because this team just doesn't have the bollocks. It doesn't have the grit. It doesn't have the determination. It doesn't have the fight. It doesn't have what's needed to get back into games and situations like that. It doesn't pick itself up. It doesn't go, do you know what? Let's pick ourselves up and let's go again. We've conceded a couple of stupid goals there, but we're better than these. Let's show that. Let's work that extra 10% harder. It's like we go 2-0 down and we think, well, we don't want to work that extra 10% harder, so we're not going to get back in this game, so we'll just drop our heads. Work that bit harder. Battle for it. Want it more. Show your quality. And that a lot of that does fall down to the manager, because tactically the manager should be able to get us back into a game against a side like Norwich when we're losing 2-0, and he didn't. And at half-time, he decided to not make a substitution, which is baffling for me. A must-win game and we're 2-0 down, and you don't make one substitution at half-time. I'd have taken Michael Keane off in the 20th minute when it went 2-0 down, and then I'd have put Yerry Mina on. And then I'd have taken Seamus Coleman off as well, and I'd have put Nathan Patterson on, and I'd have said to the two full-backs, you bomb forward and create chances for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Because Dom and Rondon, with the target men, the reason Dom and Rondon were on the pitch was for balls coming into the box, crosses coming into the box. Now, Damari Gray doesn't particularly cross the ball into the box. He likes to cut in and create chances on the floor or have a go himself. And Anthony Gordon, similarly, doesn't really provide too many crosses into the box. Your crosser is Andros Townsend, who was sat on the bench. Your crosses are your fullbacks, one of whom is sat on the bench and not being given a chance, the other of whom crossed one ball into the box, I think, and it ended up in a goal. So why aren't you, again, lumping the ball up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and expecting him to take it on his chest, rainbow flick it over 4 players and volley it into the back of the net from 30 yards? Isn't going to work. Put the ball on his head in the 6-yard box. Give him those chances. Put Norwich under pressure. And we don't. As I said, we go 2-0 down. And we typically do what Everton do. We drop our heads, we moan, we groan, we sort of cry over it, and we get to half time, and again, we had absolutely nothing. As I said, I think Rondon had a shot where he took it down, and Tim Krul made the easiest save of his professional career. And other than that, Anthony Gordon was trying to make things happen, but it wasn't quite working. As I said, they snuffed out early that the threat was going to come from Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray. Damari Gray very similarly trying to make things happen, but it wasn't working, and we just looked lost again. Tactically, sort of passion, desire, determination, energy, we just looked lost. Again, in hindsight, obviously the manager's lost his job now, so we can sit here all we like and say, how many times are we going to have to put up with this? But the reality is that the manager losing his job doesn't solve the fact that this is still the same squad of players. And that, for me, is all the more reasons to why we need somebody like a Duncan Ferguson in charge of this football club, because these players, we know, more than anybody, are very, very capable of, if they don't like a manager, turning them round and saying, no, not going to work for you. I was listening to Toffee TV do their live stream earlier, and they were talking about Gallardo, who'd be coming in, I think, from South America. And, we all sit here as fans and go, great manager, pragmatic, new ideas, this, that, and the other, would work well, we'd love him at Everton Football Club. What happens if he turned up at USM Finch Farm, the players were sat in the dressing room, and he come in, didn't really speak a word of English, and the players went, who's this fella? Not working for him. Not after bar working for him. What do we do then? He's already starting with a rod in his back, isn't he, effectively? And you could say the players wouldn't do that, Cam. I think there's certain players in this team that would do that, in this squad, at this club, that would do that. If you've got Duncan Ferguson bouncing in the dressing room, they're not going to do it, are they? Because they know that by, the next day, the cases will be packed and they'll be told that they can't enter Finch Farm ever again. And maybe, as we said in yesterday's team, maybe that's the reason the club don't want Duncan Ferguson as the manager, because he knows who the bad idiots are. He knows who the bad eggs are. He will be then capable of saying, you, fuck off and don't come back. And that might even include certain members at the top of the certain people at the top of the football club as well, which will be the right decisions, but maybe the club are scared of that. But anyway, we're 2-0 down. It's at half time, and I'm there thinking we've lost this game because we're not getting back into it. But this is your chance now, Benitez. You're 2-0 down. The fans are screaming, shouting. Evidently the majority of Evertonians at this point wanted the manager gone. This was his chance to go and make the 3 substitutions at half time and go for it. Go for it. Plenty of time, 45 minutes, go for it. Go and show why you deserve to be in the job. Go and show that tactically you can change a game. You can make a decision that will change a game. And he didn't. Ultimately, he didn't. Let's get into the live comments then before we do move on to talking about the second half. Callum Cox says, how you doing? I'm not too bad, my mate. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. 88, 90 people watching. If you could get the likes up, that'd be absolutely fantastic. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That'd be brilliant as well. And Everton fan talks about this. Hi, Cam, lad. I'm off to footy. I'll have to watch this later. Is right, mate. Enjoy footy. Celtic Vape says, hi, Cam. Feels like the whole shit show is crumbling. Certainly does. Michael O says, would you go for Cam? Who would you go for, Cam, Lampard or Rooney? I'd rather have Rooney than Lampard, to be honest, because I think Wayne Rooney, as I've said before, brings that star factor that Farhad Moshiri loves, and we all know he loves because he's a big name and he's won it all, and I think he would demand that respect. And I've seen a lot of people, I can't remember if I talked about this yesterday, but I've seen a lot of people saying, Wayne Rooney come in and he can only say this, that and the other, and look at his interviews, how would he motivate a team? Do we honestly think Wayne Rooney is going into a dressing room and going, you know why you say when you're in front of a camera? Because, I know Ped said this earlier, you're biding yourself time. Using the word is a filler for your brain to go, what can I say and what can't I say? How can I answer this question? How can I answer this question without saying something that's going to get me in trouble? Or your brain is going, right, okay, I'm incredibly shy in front of camera, and I don't really know what I need to say or what I can say or what I want to say. Not everyone's great in front of camera. Not everyone can sit there in front of a camera and talk about Everton. I'm sometimes not great in front of camera. This is why I don't do me instant match reactions outside the ground, because if someone stood with a camera outside the ground and said go, seeing all the Evertonians walking past, seeing people staring at me, I'd crumble under that pressure as well. You know, never mind, you know, a manager who again is in front of camera a lot more than the average person, but still doesn't mean you're comfortable there. So saying and slurring your sentences, or you know, it doesn't show a level of intelligence. Wayne Rooney was and is England's best ever footballer, most success. He's the highest goal scorer. He was an unbelievably world class footballer. He won everything: Champions Leagues, multiple Premier Leagues, FA Cups, you name it, he's won it. He's doing an unbelievable job with Derby County, he's been given the most, you know, ridiculous circumstances to get out of. 22-point deduction, 24-point deduction, whatever it is, 26-point deduction, bottom of the league. He had 9 players at the start of the season, and he's doing an amazing job there. That tells you everything about how good of a manager Wayne Rooney is. And I'm not saying he come in and he guaranteed to do a great job at Everton, but what I'm saying is I actually think it would dust on the mic, bottom of the U shape, says Robbie. I actually think Wayne Rooney would be a better shout than Frank Lampard, to be honest with you. And he's an Evertonian, and we couldn't sit here and say he doesn't care or he's not asked. Damien says, alright, Cam, mate, we're in a proper shit. It needs sorting out ASAP. Don't see why they don't give it to Big Dunk a chance. Yeah, me too, mate. C-Play says Jim White annoys me, to be honest. Yeah. You and me both. Lavavid says Rooney, Ferguson and Baines would be the dream ticket. Even and all says Phil Martin says as it stands it may be Rooney, Ferguson, Baines and Cahill. Cahill is apparently being offered or likely to be offered the job on what seems like to be the board, so he won't be in the dugout. Even better, says Lavavid. Mikolo says if our defence, it's a joke the way they play. Jack says we would have never seen it under Carlo. Well, we conceded a lot under Carlo, to be fair, and we weren't very good for large parts of last season either. Like, again, I'm not saying, you know, Benitez is a better manager than Carlo, because he's not. Carlo Ancelotti is a much better manager than Rafa Benitez, but we weren't perfect under Carlo, where defensively we were much better, but we still lost games. Sheffield United, Fulham, who else did we lose to? Palace, Burnley twice, Newcastle. Stupid games that we needed to win, albeit we weren't in a relegation battle, but you know. Toffee Gale says we won't win on Saturday either. No chance. Gerrard will be all for it. I think with Duncan in charge, with the crowd behind it, with the players knowing that they'll have to give a reaction, I think we will. Semi says, Greeto, fellow Blues. What's happening, my mate? Greetings, sorry. Toffee Gale says, don't want to see Coleman or Keane anywhere in the first team. Jack the Lad says, only just beating Hull, losing to QPR, Norwich, Watford. That wouldn't have happened last season. Proves it was him. No excuse for not winning that match, says Semi. And EFC says, anyone know when Branthwaite is back? I think he's back at the minute, to be honest with you. I think he is back. He was apparently, well, according to Benitez, there was only one injury, wasn't he? I'm just going to double check to make sure there's been no managerial news while we've been on air. No, there hasn't. Yeah, so I think he's back at the minute. But yeah, again, we'll wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, we go into half-time. We will get back in the live comments shortly, by the way. If you are watching, please hit that like button. Nearly 100 viewers as well. If we could share the stream, if we could push it, if we could get to 100, that'd be absolutely unbelievable. If you're enjoying, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As I said, that would mean a great deal to me. You all know who I want as manager. If you watched any of the last 2 live streams, which a lot of people did, so thank you so much for the support. You all know I want Duncan Ferguson. I just think this is the time. This is the right. You've got Everton legends, Neville Southall coming out and saying the same. I think Peter Reid has come out and said the same. Trevor Stevens has come out and said the same. You know, players that, if you were to think of Everton legend, if you were to think of, you know, what epitomises being an Everton legend, a lot of these players that you would bring up in that conversation are talking about Duncan Ferguson. You know, Sam Allardyce come out today and offered himself to Farhad Moshiri, which is worrying. It's worrying, but at least with Sam Allardyce, you'd at least know that the plan was to not get us relegated. Not that I'd want Sam Allardyce back, by the way, but Sam Allardyce, who could have easily said, like he did the last time before he was employed, listen, I want the job. I think I'd be the best man for the job, because I'm pretty sure I remember him going on TalkSport before he was employed last time, saying something along those lines. He actually said, this is time for Duncan Ferguson. Give it to Duncan Ferguson. He's worked with Duncan Ferguson. So if he didn't think tactically he was good enough, why would he say it? So that sort of dispels the tactically he wouldn't be good enough argument. He's worked under Carlo Ancelotti. He's worked under Rafael Benitez, whether you like Rafael Benitez or not. He's worked under him. He's worked under Ronald Koeman, who went on to be the manager of Barcelona. He's worked under Roberto Martinez, I believe, briefly, who is gone on to be the manager of Belgium, and the board seemingly want. And he's got that connection with the fans. He'd glue everyone together. He'd get everybody singing off at the same hymn sheet. And ultimately, at the moment, that's what we need. We need to start winning games. We need to start getting results. And I think the way to do that is to bring in a manager that everybody is going to get behind, and that the players will get behind, and the players will appreciate, and the players will work for, and grind out those results. And I think tactically, listen, if Duncan Ferguson tactically wasn't good enough, then a manager of the ilk of Carlo Ancelotti wouldn't have kept him at the club. He wouldn't have. You can have your arguments about Benitez, saying, oh, Benitez would have kept him because he's a blue, whatever. Carlo Ancelotti would have just gone, see you later. You're not good enough. Carlo Ancelotti wants him. There was even reports, unconfirmed reports, albeit, that Carlo Ancelotti wanted him to go to Real Madrid. Now, if they are true, why would that be the case if he wasn't good enough tactically? If he wasn't a good enough coach? That's what we need. We said it before Benitez come in. We need a coach. We need to start acting like it's the 21st century and stop living in 1999, i.e., hello, Bill Kenwright, stop fucking living in the 1990s. Act like it's the 21st century. Why not bring in a coach who can coach the players, who the players respect, who the players will work for, will fight for, who the players know? It's a simple decision for me. Matt Smith says, big up Cam, keep up the good work. Duncan in for now, let him prove himself. Doesn't work out, then at least we know where we stand. Yeah, I agree. Toffee Gale says, Duncan needs to step up now or move on. Well, that's it, isn't it? If he doesn't get the job now, then maybe he will move on. I can't see him really staying under another manager. Maybe Wayne Rooney, given that they've got a relationship and Wayne Rooney's also a blue, and that'd be, a nice little partnership. But, if somebody like Martinez come in or somebody else, I don't see, I could see Dunk leaving personally, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, let's get into the second half of this dreadful game then, so we can talk about it, put it behind us, and never have to talk about it again. So yeah, we go into the second half, and you're thinking, if you've got any, you being Rafa Benitez, if you've got any sort of want to keep your job, if you've got any sort of ambition to still be at this football club beyond this game, then you will try absolutely everything and throw everything at it to try and get something out of this game, because we all knew a defeat would have been a disastrous result, and not just a disastrous result for the manager, but I'm still sitting here now, and was still sitting here after, when was it, Tuesday, Monday, when the manager was sacked and it was announced. I was still sitting there and going, well, that doesn't change the fact that we still lost at the weekend. That doesn't change the fact that we still lost a must-win game. We still lost the game that we desperately needed to get 3 points in. So I was thinking at half time, right, okay, do the three, do the three substitutions, bring Richarlison on, Mina on, and maybe a Townsend or an El Ghazi, and really, really go for it. He didn't. He didn't bring anybody on. He waited and watched for 10, 15 minutes of us doing absolutely nothing again, running around like headless chickens, clueless performance once again. And then he decided to bring Yerry Mina and Richarlison on. And, oh, look at that. No surprise, we looked much, much better when both Yerry Mina and Richarlison come onto the pitch. We looked much more confident, we looked much more assured. Yerry Mina completely shored the defence up, and Norwich all of a sudden, stopped having that little bit of confidence that they had previously to go on and, create chances, because they were all of a sudden coming up against Yerry Mina, who is a much better defender than Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane. Let's be perfectly honest, he is. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button close to 50. And Richarlison come on and done what Richie does, and that is work tirelessly, give 110% every time he's on that pitch, battle, work his arse off, fight, show that determination, show that passion, and do exactly what we needed them to do at that time. And it's a shame that we haven't got a squad full of players like Richarlison, isn't it, really? It's a shame that we haven't got a squad full of players who are itching and sort of biting at their nails to get on that pitch and give absolutely everything for Everton Football Club and work their absolute hardest and battle and fight and show that desire and show that passion and show that determination. It's a real shame that we haven't got a squad full of players like that, because we would be in a much better situation than what we are in now. I can tell you that. And as I said, Richie comes on and all of a sudden we look better. We looked more confident, we looked more cool, we looked more collected, and Norwich all of a sudden started to lose control of the game. We started to control the ball a little bit more, control the possession. But as I said before, it doesn't matter. You can have 100% of the possession in the second half of football. If you only have one shot on target and you're losing a game 2-0, doesn't matter how much possession you have, does it? I've never been into this. Yeah, but look at how much possession we had. We controlled the game. Do you know, if we had 70% possession and we had 18 shots on target and we were just unlucky, or Krul had the game of his life, or we hit the bar, we hit the post, or we were denied by goal line clearances, I'd go, do you know what? There was that effort there. We were trying to get back in the game. We were actively, having the shots, having the chances on goal, and it just didn't work out for us. Sometimes that happens. We didn't, other than the goal, which we'll talk about in a second, we didn't threaten whatsoever. There was no threat. There was no really, again, and even the goal come out of nowhere. It was a cross that was in by Mikalenko that was cleared, and a bit of magic by Richarlison, a bit of magic that no other player in the Everton squad would have pulled off. So had it have been any other player stood where Richarlison was stood, it wouldn't have been a goal. Got us back into the game. It wasn't even an opportunity. It wasn't a chance. It was out of nowhere. And it was an extremely good finish, don't get me wrong. It was a world-class finish. It might even win our goal of the season this early on in the season. That's how good it was. But what I'm saying is it wasn't a well-worked, brilliant chance. It was a lovely bit of magic from a special footballer. But yeah, anyway, we get back in the game. As I said, Mikalenko gets down that left-hand side, puts a dink ball in. Tim Krul comes out and wins it, and subsequently is then off his line. And Richarlison pulls out an absolute worldie of an overhead kick. And an overhead kick that I'm sort of, that overhead kick for me epitomised the situation that Everton Football Club are in at the moment. It epitomised the way in which we're all feeling. It epitomised how badly this club has been ran for so long, and how bad of a state this club have gotten in over the last few years or so. And by that, what I mean is, and I only speak for myself, and some people might disagree, and some people might say, no, I went mad, Cam, but it went in. And it was an unbelievable finish. A goal that if it was at 0-0, we'd have all been running around screaming about. A goal that if it was, in different circumstances and playing well, we'd have all been absolutely over the moon with. But it went in, and because we were 2-0 down to Norwich and didn't really show any fight or determination, and because of the situation we were in, and because we're 16th in the Premier League, and because we hadn't won a game in 2 months, one game in 2 months, it went in. And what was a world-class finish and an unbelievable goal, I just sort of went, yeah, good finish that. Nice, back in the game. Because I knew we weren't getting back in the game. Because I knew that we'd do what I mentioned earlier on in the live stream, and that was have that period of 10 or 15 minutes where we need to capitalise on it. We need to throw everything at it. We've got the momentum, we've got the confidence, we've got the run of play, we've got everything going for us. Not just sitting there going, shit, these could get back in the game now. I knew that period of 10 or 15 minutes that we had all of that, we would waste. We would do nothing with, and Norwich would come out of it going, do you know what? These aren't that great, actually. We'll be all right here. And that's exactly what happened. We scored a beautiful goal. Ian says, afternoon camp just got in, mate. What have I missed? No doubt we've got Graham Souness now. Nothing much, mate. Rooney and Lampard are being approached to be interviewed, apparently. And Dunk is set to take charge of the game against Villa. But I think there was another report saying Dunk had won assurances that he was going to be given the job on a temporary basis. So yeah, we'll wait and see, won't we? Not of any real note over the last sort of couple of hours or so, certainly. But yeah, again, an absolutely wonderful finish by Richarlison. Really, really well taken. Overhead kick, bicycle kick, whatever you want to call it. And all of a sudden, we've got what happened to be 30 minutes, half an hour to get back in the game, because there was 7 minutes added on. I can't. I give up seeing Everton do this so many times. Have an opportunity to go and get back in the game, throw everything at it. If that was the other way around and Everton were 2-0 up against Norwich at Goodison, which we were, and Norwich scored to make it 2-1 with half an hour to go, Dean Smith would have thrown everything at it. He'd have thrown all of his subs on if he had any subs left. And tactically, he'd have said, right, use this next 10 minutes while you've got a bit of momentum and while they're on the back ropes a little bit to capitalise. Throw, create the chances. Be careful that you'll delete him on the counter-attack, of course, but create the chances, throw everything at it. And we don't do that. Rafa Benitez, once again, had one substitute left to use. Could have brought on Andros Townsend. Could have brought on Anwar El Ghazi, who he's just signed to come in to have an impact in situations like this. Doesn't bring anybody on. Waits. And what happens? We have that 10 minutes after scoring the goal where we don't really do much. And Norwich comfortably see the game out. They even had another chance at the last kick of the game where they hit the post. We had half chances where a ball got chipped into, the box and Dom nearly got his foot on the end of it. We had a chance where Ben Godfrey had a shot and it was saved, but let's be honest, it probably wasn't going in anyway. And that was it. And the manager again is at fault because not only have we lost another game, but he hasn't done everything he could do to win that game. He gave up like the players did. He gave up. He didn't throw everything at it. He didn't make all 3 substitutions. He didn't bring on another attacker to go and find an equaliser. He just watched. No reason to not bring on El Ghazi or Townsend. No reason. Even Gbamin in the midfield and pushed Doucouré forward. Didn't do any of it. Just watched and waited as if something magically was going to change. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of fucking Everton Football Club. It's mad. It's mad. And again, as I said, Norwich see the game out. And we lose another game of football, another vitally important game of football, another absolute must-win. Lost. And yes, obviously, subsequently, the manager lost his job, which was exactly what needed to happen and the right decision. But, taking that away from the situation, regardless of whether Rafa Benitez was still here or lost his job, we still lost the game of football that we desperately needed to win. And I honestly ask myself, where do we go from here? We've got a vital fixture on Saturday against Aston Villa, a side that have got all sorts of confidence at the moment because of their transfer business, their form in the league, coming off the back of a draw against Manchester United where they come back from 2-0 down. Their new signing, Coutinho, scored on his debut. They'll have loads of confidence. And we don't even know who's going to take charge of the team on that day because the club haven't come out and the club haven't conveyed it. The club haven't come out and spoken to us. What's the rush? Come out and say Dunk's going to get the game against Villa and then we'll address, who's going to be the new manager. But we haven't even said that. Dunk took training today with Alan Kelly and Leighton Baines. No announcements on that. For all we know, if you're not clued up on social media or journalists and you don't listen to journalists, you would think that there was no training today because the club haven't come out and said anything. Again, the lack of communication is abysmal and extremely worrying. And yeah, who knows where we'll be come the weekend. But what I can tell you, if it is Dunk in charge, then the club need to come out and confirm it and not just leave journalists to speculate it and us to be sitting here saying, well, what's confirmed and what isn't. Because, the Telegraph or Sky can report it all as they like, but until Everton Football Club come out and say Duncan Ferguson will be taking charge of the weekend, then we don't really know at the weekend, then we don't really know where we are, do we? So, I mean, Jem says in the comments, Dunk must be saying he's not up for it. Why else wouldn't they hand him the reins? For me, I think maybe because he knows too much. He knows about who the idiots are at the football club. He's not going to turn around and be a yes man to the board and say, yeah, I agree with everything you do. He'll challenge the board. He'll challenge the players that turn up on a Monday and say, oh, I had an headache 3 weeks ago, so I'm going to sit out of this weekend's game. He'll challenge them for their commitment and their desire. And you know what? That's why I really want Dunk, and I want Dunk over anybody. But if it's not going to be Dunk, that's why I want it to be Wayne Rooney. Because I think Wayne Rooney will do that as well. But the Everton board don't really know Wayne Rooney would do that because he's not obviously been at the club as a manager or a coach. He's been at the club as a player. So if it's not going to be Duncan Ferguson, I'd rather it be Wayne Rooney over anybody. I would. But the reality is, as I said, we've lost another game of football. Another game of football we needed to win. Another horrendous performance. Another horrendous result. And I honestly, forgetting who's going to come in, Saturday is ginormous now. And I do think if Dunk's in charge, we'll see a reaction. Because I think we'll see a reaction from the crowd. And I think the atmosphere will be fantastic. And that will naturally push the players. And that will naturally, give us a boost, which will be good. And I think, again, Villa are a good side and they've got a lot of confidence at the moment, but they're not the best team in the world. They're not this world-class, unbelievable team that are unbeatable. They're very beatable. But, again, we don't even know that Dunk's definitely in charge for Saturday, sorry. And this is another must-win game. It's so important. So important. Mark Nablot has donated £4.99 to the live stream. Thank you very much, my mate. Really appreciate that donation. It means a massive amount to me. He says, or they say, Dunk and Wayno are the only ones that can bring our club together. I think the only managers to come in that would have Dunk staying at the club would be possibly Wayne Rooney, and it'd be interesting to see if they could form a partnership because it would be a really interesting partnership. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Good point, Cam says. Jem, Noblet also says, I've supported the Blues since 1963. I've seen diabolical Gordon Lee and Mike Walker times, but never as our club being so divided. There you go. He also says, I think Mashiri is worried that he would lose control with Duncan Wayne in charge. He used to get in his own way. They're the ones that would put him in his place. Absolutely, and that's why I said at the end of last night's live stream, fucking grow up. If Bill Kenwright and Farhad Mashiri are watching, or anybody that knows Bill Kenwright and Farhad Mashiri are watching, send them this message, please. Fucking grow up. This is our football club you're fucking about with because you don't want to be proven wrong or you want to have your own way or this, that and the other. Fucking grow up and do what's best for the football club. If Bill is the biggest Evertonian on the planet and such a big Evertonian, do what's best for Everton. Stop doing what's best for yourself. Matt says, Cam, there is no one at the club to tell what to say and when, who works there anymore, they're all gone. Yeah, that's a good point, to be fair. Jem says, Ian, definitely we'll get them going in the interim. Villa need wins. They do, but we need wins as well. We need wins, and that's what it'll come down to. Who wants it more? And I think with Dunk in charge, we'd want it more. With Roberto Martinez in charge is a different question. That's just an example, by the way. Roberto at the moment doesn't look like he will take over, but as I said, never hold your breath with Everton. John says, Don Carlo walked out on the club and the people still talking him up. To me, he was a piece of shit. Now people are talking Duncan. He's a sound fella, but come on, Everton need a magician. There's no one out there. There's no one out there. If Simeone, if Pep Guardiola were there and you were going, yeah, they're available, then yeah. But we're looking at Frank fucking Lampard and Roberto Martinez. Chiefy says, go off, Cam. I've said it all before, mate. I've said it yesterday. I said it the day before. These idiots running the football club haven't got a clue. And not only haven't they got a clue, but they're so egotistical that they want their decision to be heard. I want to make the decision. I want this to be work. I want this to, this, that, and the other. And the reality of the situation is, the decisions that these people have made over the years have been dramatic failures and have gotten us into this situation, and we can't afford to. I said it yesterday, I said it the day before. This is the biggest decision Farhad Mashiri will ever make during his time at Everton. If he gets this wrong, I could see us going down. Adam Skeers, become a member of the channel. Thank you very much. Says, Happy New Year, Cam. Cheers, my mate. I'll give Lampard a chance to Super League. Jay Dunn says it's a poison chalice. John says, look, if Everton come out full of passion and face pumping, they'll be shattered after 60 minutes and Villa will win. I don't know. Listen, everyone will have their own thoughts and opinions, but, I don't know. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed this live stream, please do hit that like button. Once again, a massive thank you to everybody in the live comments. 120 odd people watching again, which is just absolutely unbelievable. If you are watching and you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. We will be back a little bit later on tonight, hopefully, with just the general managerial update. Not that there's much to talk about today, but I've enjoyed the last couple that we've done, so I thought, you know what, we'll sit down and we'll do another one tonight. mate. Hopefully, anyway. Yeah, as I said, if you've enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Another game, another loss. The manager's gone, but the reality of the situation is there's bigger problems, and we need to start winning games of football. And, you know, it'd start with having somebody in charge of the team come Saturday, wouldn't it, really? But, you know, we'll wait and see. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. As I said, massive thanks to everybody for watching live. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. Superflea says, I'm willing to take the Everton job for the kebab and a Diet Coke. Is right. Eugene says, see you about the toffees. The November says, I was at Carrow Road this weekend, and it was a sheer embarrassment. How much money and time have I got to invest in this shower? Villa is a 9-pointer now, Cam. Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. Mozza says, cheers, Cam. Later. Thank you. Semi says, thanks, Cam. Take care. Cheers, my mate. Come on, you Blues, says Jem. Is right. I hope the F and Toffee says, Philip, give Dunk the reins and look for the director of football first. I reckon I'd be well up for that, mate. The club, unfortunately, set in its ways. Yeah, says Jay Dunn. I get that. Yeah, completely. What's more important, getting a director of football in first or sorting managerial position first? Well, we need a manager for Saturday first, don't we? Really, and I think the club are more interested in sorting the manager rather than the director of football. But if Dunk is going to be the manager, then you can look at a director of football. But I suppose other people would say, well, if anyone's going to be the manager, then they'll look at the director of football. So just give it to Dunk. Stop fucking about. Give it to Dunk. This feels like naturally his time now to show that he is good enough to take over at Everton. But yeah, they're not going to listen to me, are they? Why would they? And Will says, thanks as always, Cam. Hopefully better times to come. Let's hope so, mate. Anyway, big thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new as well. Yeah, big thanks to everybody in the live comments, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.